Good afternoon and welcome to the July 10, 2024 Civil Service Commission meeting for the City of Glendale. May we please have roll call?
Commissioner Atamian.
Here.
Commissioner McGrabian.
Here.
Commissioner Reen.
Here.
Chair Kazarian.
Yes, thank you. Next item, please.
Minutes, consideration of the minutes for the May 8th, 2024 meeting.
Is there a motion?
Motion that the minutes be approved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Commissioner Hatamian.
Yes.
Commissioner McGrabian.
Yes.
Commissioner Reen.
Yes.
Chair Kazarian.
Yes, thank you. Next item, please.
Oral communications, we do not have any cards and no phone calls have been received.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Recruitment and examination report.
Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, this is the regular recruitment and examination status report, which represents the current recruitments in process and that our team is currently working on. You'll notice that the team has 59 open recruitments, a significant decrease from our last meeting. So thank you to the HR staff for all of their hard work in reducing the inventory. You will notice the division of work amongst the team on the recruitment and examination report, and you'll notice that they are in various stages of the examination and selection process, and the report reflects those various stages. If the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is a note and file item.
Any questions?
No.
No questions? Thank you. Next item, please.
Eligible list established.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Ms. Adams?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, the subject before the commission is the regular report that includes all of the eligible lists that were recently established since our last meeting in May. This report includes the total number of applications, the number of individuals that advanced through the various stages of our examination process. Since our last meeting, we have had a total of 37 lists established. 16 were open to the public, 15 were given on a promotional basis, and 6 were given on an open and promotional basis. This is also a note and file item. However, if the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. Is there a motion? Is this a note and item? Note and file?
Note and file.
I see. Thank you. Next item, please.
Revised class specification and job bulletin for approval. Director of Finance.
Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, we are here to request your approval of the revised class specification and job bulletin regarding our executive level Director of Finance position. The city manager plans to conduct an open recruitment to fill this vacant position, but before doing so, wanted to update the class specification, which was last revised 17 years ago. The Director of Finance will report to the city manager and will be responsible for planning, directing, managing, and coordinating the activities of the Finance Department. These responsibilities include overseeing central financial services, financial information systems, budget development and management, debt financing management, and policy development. In accordance with Civil Service Rule 4, Section 3C, staff is requesting commission approval for the job bulletin of Director of Finance. I would also like to note that the city manager plans to engage an executive search firm to assist human resources in conducting the open recruitment process for this role. The essential functions and minimum requirements outlined in the attached bulletin align with the proposed class specification. The actual color brochure that will be promulgated to the public has not been created yet. As an executive level position, there is no association to inform So therefore, we do respectfully request approval of the class specification of Director of Finance as submitted. And we also respectfully request approval of the job bulletin for Director of Finance as submitted. We have our Deputy Director of Human Resources, Mania Hunanian, here, along with the Assistant Director of HR, Amy Martin, who, along with our Assistant City Manager, John Taktalian, will be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think I would want the assistant city manager to maybe answer, or somebody who can answer in regards to the minimum requirements, whoever would be more appropriate. Hi. So I have a question regarding the minimum requirements experience. I noticed that it seems like this was first written 17 years ago, and there was a requirement of 5 years that was crossed off, and that was lowered to 3 years. I just wanted to know why that change was made.
Certainly. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. Amy Martin, Assistant Director of Human Resources. To answer the question, with regards to the reduction of from 5 years to 3 years, the 5 years was in a more general area. The previous language read 5 years at a senior level supervisory position, and we have revised that portion of the experience to read 3 years at a management and policy making level with supervisory responsibility of management and professional staff. So it's a little bit more specific, and doing so will also expand the reach, the applicant pool.
Got it. Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions?
No questions.
Forgive me. So I appreciate the response you gave to Commissioner Hatamian, but I had only circled that portion as well, because despite the modification, I can't help but think that it is a reduction in the years of experience, unless I'm not reading it correctly. It seems to say 3 of which shall have been at management and policy making level, with supervisory responsibility of management and professional staff, but then you've taken out in a senior level supervisory position. That language is taken out, right?
Yes, in a senior level supervisory position is, the proposal is to strike that language. The overall years of experience would remain 8 years, but based on the different level of classifications, typically within a finance department, there are many senior level supervisory staff members who could potentially qualify, but may not have the policy-making level, decision-making level experience. So we wanted to be a little bit more precise as far
Okay.
as that aspect of the
She
experience.
doesn't need help. She's doing well.
That's actually
She doesn't
add a
need help.
different
I'm satisfied
perspective
with
as
her
well.
answer, unless one of my colleagues need to ask her anything. Thank you, but good
Well,
to see you.
certainly, yeah, that's fine. But if there's a different perspective on that as well.
I'm happy to hear it, if you wanna share that different perspective.
Absolutely,
Sure.
I didn't want to, there was a request that I come up specifically, so
Okay.
I didn't want to not
Well,
not
Commissioner
abide by that.
Hatamian is a tougher
But-
commissioner than me. Go ahead.
From a practical perspective as well, I'm also familiar with a number of agencies who are recruiting for directors of finance and having extremely difficult times. The market out there for this particular position is very difficult to fill, similar to what the IT field was fielding with IT directors. So as Ms. Martin mentioned, aside from expanding reducing the number but expanding the scope, we're also trying to do this to expand the number of applicants that we can actually consider.
Fair point. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions? No? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve as written.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Commissioner Tamian,
Yes.
Commissioner McGrabian,
Yes.
Commissioner Reen,
Yes.
Chair Gazarian.
Yes, thank you. Next item, please.
New class specification for approval, parking and police services administrator.
Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, before you for approval is the new class specification for the position of parking and Police Services Administrator. The City Council approved the establishment of this position as part of the 24-25 fiscal year budget. The Parking and Police Services Administrator will oversee the Police Department's Parking Bureau, front desk operations, and police services officers assigned to the parking and traffic duties. These responsibilities include reviewing parking operations and programs by analyzing data, serving as a liaison between the police department and private contractors, and supervising the staff assigned to the police department front desk. The Glendale Management Association has reviewed the class specification and has not expressed any concerns. Therefore, we respectfully request approval of the proposed class specification for the Parking and Police Services Administrator as submitted. We have Russ Kwan here from our HR office, along with Deputy Police Chief Andrew Jinks, who can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do have one question about the experience. The experience requires recent supervisory experience in a law enforcement parking enforcement bureau, but the position is also for front desk operations. So I was just wondering why there was no experience noted for front desk operations, or maybe the parking operations gives the skill set for front desk, just for clarification purposes.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Andrew Jenks, Deputy Chief. To answer your question, the front desk operations is part of the overall parking operations that we have. It consists of three basic parts. There's our parking operations, or field-based personnel who are out there enforcing parking, towing cars, doing monitoring school parking. There's front desk operations, and there's also our contracted parking. We contract with a private company that provides some of our parking enforcement. So all three of those components comprise the parking operations.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that the person has front desk operations
Absolutely,
experience.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
No, thank you so much.
My question was, one of the duties is enforcing parking regulations by writing citations. So does that mean that this person in this position is going to go out in a city car and inflict fear on its citizens by writing those citations? Or that seems like a disparity between the high-level position or the management-type position that's exempt that we're talking about, and then doing something that is kind of the bottom.
Correct. Mr. Commissioner, the intent of that knowledge or having that experience is similar to, I would say, a police lieutenant who we don't really expect to be out in the field day to day making arrests, writing citations. However, they should have that ability and the capability and the knowledge of how to write those citations and enforce those laws. But the primary duties of this person would be administrative.
Got it. Thank you.
That makes sense. I do have that gives me a follow-up question. So as a non-sworn person, would this person who's in this position have the legal qualifications or ability to give citations, or are the giving of citations a sworn position duty?
Our parking enforcement officers, whether they're contracted or there are other parking enforcement contractors that are employed by the city, they are authorized to write parking citations and tow vehicles and enforce those parking rules and regulations.
And they're sworn, correct?
They are not sworn. This is a civilian position.
Oh, I
And-
see. That
and
makes
Our
sense.
parking enforcement are all civilians.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. Any motions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Tamian,
Yes.
Commissioner McGrabian,
Yes.
Commissioner Reen,
Yes.
Chair Gazarian.
Yes, thank you. Next item, please.
Reports and information, employee job performance evaluations, past due aging report. And Commissioners and Mr. Chair, please note that a revised copy of this report was placed on your desk in front of you.
Thank you. Ms. Adams?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, before you is an informational report on performance evaluations and the return status for City of Glendale's employees. As you can see, the response rate is excellent, and there are no evaluations on the second list. The original version that was in your packet had some departments accidentally eliminated, so what's before you shows all of our city departments. And the response rate is excellent. If the commission has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is a note and file item.
Any questions?
Yeah.
This reminds me of a number of our former commissioners who used to pause when this agenda item would come, and they would either express their displeasure or bestow a great deal of accolades. So if they were here, they would be saying, great job, because there's nothing on the second notice, certainly nothing on the third notice. So great job on behalf of former commissioners' sentiments. Thank you. Next item.
Civil Service Commission staff comments.
Any comments?
No comments.
No comment is a good comment. Thank you. Next item, please.
Closed session, reinstatement, integrated waste worker.
Ms. Varbetian, this is where I always defer to you. What is it that we do now?
We are going to adjourn into closed session. We're going to ask anyone who is not related to this item to step out of the room. We're going to go off camera. We will report out on this, but not on camera. And so at this point, we would ask our GTD staff to turn off the
Exactly as what Ms. Varbetian said. Yes, that.